Oh boy. Oh boy. Do we have a good show for you guys this week? We got my man Patrick Coleman joining us, but before we get to Patrick, let me introduce you guys to Charlie B. Williams III.
Carlos, how you doing this week?
What's going on, Charlie?
How's everybody doing?
Good,
I'm happy to
good.
be here. Yeah, let's
Next
go.
up to bat, we got Jack Kasperzak.
All right.
Come on, man. Every week is different. Awesome.
And we got Tyrus Gaucher.
I just want to say, without Galactus, Silver Surfer wouldn't be here. So let's take a moment and thank Galactus.
On a related note, well, actually, let me get to. I'm gonna write that down because we're gonna get back to that. Galactus.
Silver Surfer's the
Patrick,
winner.
our guest this week is a fantastic motion designer, Patrick Coleman, and even better friend. Hello, Patrick.
What up? What up? How you guys
Welcome,
doing?
Pat. Welcome, Pat.
Everyone, welcome, Patrick.
That's right. What's
Sup,
up?
All right, so
Patrick?
let's go back to Galactus and all this stuff. As everyone knows, my background is in the Cuban arts, if you will. Everyone,
No such thing.
everyone hates Fidel except me, because if it wasn't for Fidel is my Galactus.
If
If it wasn't for him, my dad would have never left. If he would have never left, I would have never been. So big ups to Fidel, big ups to socialism. Because
Wait a second. That's like a Jew-loving Hitler because it gave them a reason to escape or something.
Go ahead,
Like, that's
talk
not how
about
that
it.
works.
Hey,
Wait, did you
about
just
it. I
compare
never-
it to a Jew-loving Hitler?
You just
Yeah,
did.
man.
We're going there.
Nice. That'll teach him.
Yeah,
Hey.
what are you talking about?
It's close, but you know,
It's close.
Not
It's totally close.
not that close. Hey, he did do a lot of killing and stuff, but he wasn't that fucking retarded, that's for sure.
Yeah, he just shot him. He didn't burn him or anything.
Yeah, didn't want to get too bad. I'm stop.
Yeah.
This started off real
Yeah.
So bad. This is why we
real
don't go.
dark.
What do you?
And Patrick. Hey, no one would know that Patrick saves pit bulls. He goes out, he sees these pit bulls, and he adopts them and raises them as his own children.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You look at him,
What you know
and you
about
don't think he doesn't have a pit bull in the apartment somewhere?
that? Well,
Patrick is
Hey,
big,
man,
hairy,
let's not
fat,
judge.
but one of the sweetest guys I've ever met.
He's a big teddy bear, right?
look.
I'll tell you personally, he's my favorite lumberjack.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Sketchbook Jack.
No, not the same.
completely
Two
different-
completely different people.
No, let's talk about
That's a
that.
jack without the lumber.
Whoa!
Pause.
He's saying
Pause.
Sketchbook doesn't have wood.
Whoa, right?
Listen, let's put the brakes on this conversation and go in another direction. Nothing good is going to come of this.
Man.
So Patrick,
Wait, hold up. Now we're on the Sketchbook Jack moment right here.
Wow.
Little known fact.
Just
We
taking
used to live
over.
together.
Oh
We should know
yeah.
about
We
that.
did. We
Was it
did.
college roommates? Or
Yeah.
after?
Yeah, man.
hey Jack, were you ever an RA?
Unfortunately.
So
Oh,
the
yeah, you
majority of
were.
this panel was RAs, except for Tyrus.
That's right.
You know who
Absolutely
Tyrus's RA was?
RA.
Absolutely not.
You know
That
who
was-
Tyrus's RA was?
Charlie.
This guy.
No, that guy, the older guy.
This guy.
The
That's
older
right. That's right. I knew Tyrus when. I'm not gonna say the
Story
bad
time.
stories. I'm not gonna say the bad stories because my
Listen.
man, he's married.
Let's
and
just
has
call
about
Tyrus the
25
anti-RA.
kids.
Hey, listen. Let
But
me just-
listen,
Let me just tell
Tyrus
you
used to
a story.
say, "No, I don't have a snake." And then I'd
That's
go
right.
in for like inspections and stuff, and this big ass python would roll under all his laundry that he had laying on the floor.
It's
Or
true.
or be in the ductwork, right? Get
Yeah.
into the ventilation system.
This big ass snake
Strangling
is
babies.
this big ass snake is eating like a sheep, and he's like, I don't have a snake.
Wait, so you didn't have babies at one point? You didn't have kids? This was pre-kids? I didn't even think that was like a thing. I thought you had kids since like 16, like something pre-college.
Oh,
What?
you put him in a box, huh? Is this where we're going with this
Let's
podcast?
go.
Wow.
He just
Yeah, he did.
acts like let's move on, gentlemen.
Oh man, that's the first that's happened.
Hey,
No one's put Tyrus up like that.
he doesn't have kids that we know of.
See,
What do you mean that I know? Listen, knock it off.
See, that's worse than what I said.
nice.
Yeah, let's
See,
knock it
Patrick's
off.
been watching the podcast, so he's been ready. He's been waiting.
Hey,
he's been,
you know what? Honestly, I've been thinking about taking notes every episode because I got like things that I gotta bring up.
Patrick
and
is
they
that
might come out
listener that's
Hey.
in my ear while we
I
doing
don't
the
know.
podcast.
I don't know about you, but that little hiccup that the internet did was just it. It sounded like you said, "I got dick and nose."
It's this new thing I'm getting into. It's dick and nose. I'll talk about it later.
But for now, we're
Pause.
gonna go ahead and start talking about your profession, if that's all right.
Oh yeah.
Can we move
So
on
now
to
that we
my
got all the
man's
credibility out of the way, we can talk about the work.
This is
Can
why
we
he's
talk
here.
about my man's resume?
I'm never working again after this. Let's not publish this one.
Sketch Zone, the career killer.
Okay, let's talk
So-
about work.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about work now that you're home from work.
Yeah, let's bring it down a notch.
So you went to art school, obviously. We just touched on that, but then after that, what happened?
Oh man. As soon as I graduated, well, going into my senior year, I had to put together a reel like everyone's got to do. But that's when I started to realize that I wasn't into character animation and stuff like that. Want to do motion graphics, so I started teaching myself After Effects for my senior project reel. Graduated, spent a couple months freelancing and building a new reel, like basically the depths of antisocial behavior, just full on day and night doing a new reel.
It was a scary time.
It was it was a little gnarly, but freelance, got a lot of good opportunities through that, and then got picked up at a post house here in Chicago called Optimus and worked there for 10 years, just doing all types of motion graphics and boards and creative direction and all that stuff. And then about a year and a half ago went freelance and just been doing tons and tons and tons of freelance work. It's been good.
Then you blew up, right? Been everywhere.
What are some of the companies that you've done project for?
Freelance wise, I mostly work at one place. I mostly work at a company called Swarovski. But I've done work at Leviathan, Digital Kitchen, Vitamin, done some stuff direct with a couple of agencies here in town. A lot of like side jobs that are not that great, but extra free money's cool. But yeah, just been getting around. So I'm trying to break out into the coast, but it's always hard to sort of like not take a job, not accept a job when I could be out on the coast looking for more work for just different companies and stuff like that.
You're looking to telecommute or to actually come out here?
I do either. I work remotely for some places anyway. I can work from home, but it would be great to work on site, just to get that experience of a different shop and all that stuff. Because you can do the work remotely, and it's all good, especially if they're boards, if it's not actual animation. But you get a whole nother perspective when you're working with the company, when you're in the trenches with everyone.
How big has your stuff gotten? Have you ever reached the movie level type of stuff, or is it just commercial work?
Listen to that setup, like you don't know. That's pretty good.
Just what he
Listen to that, man. What book have you been reading?
Let-
Man, you've been watching a lot of late night stuff. No, so there's been a big shift for me. Like my career it started mostly commercial work, right? It was mostly just like whatever commercial stuff, like you name it. And then going freelance, it really opened up a lot of stuff. So you still do the occasional stuff for web, but it's gotten into more abstract stuff or movies, definitely, TV shows, package bumpers, stuff like that. Yeah, we've at the place that I mentioned earlier that I work at, the most Swarovski, they've developed a really good relationship with Marvel, so there's been some Marvel stuff happening, which has been pretty cool.
Do you remember back in the day when comics were trying to reinvent themselves? and so they started doing these motion comics.
I worked
Yeah.
at Sock Puppet when that happened. I was one of the people doing that for Marvel, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like moving like it's like a automatic, but they were doing it a little
Yeah.
bit better to stories, right?
Hey, Charlie, you got your mic in your mouth. You want to move it away a little bit. Pause.
How's this? Is it good?
It's a lot better.
Good. Now
So
answer
I
the question.
remember, hey, Patrick, I remember visiting you when you were at Optimus, and you were working on a Charmin commercial with the bears and the little toilet paper hanging from the tree and stuff. Um, do you do drawing and animation like that, or is it just strictly motion graphics?
No, mostly motion graphics. I do a lot of. You end up doing a lot of sketches and stuff like that, so I definitely use a lot of my fundamentals, my hand stuff. I do a lot of logo design and all that stuff too, so I do a lot of illustration stuff. But it's mostly just like After Effects is my main package, Cinema 4D, and then obviously Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever.
Since you did work on the Charmin commercial, did you ever hear about the rabbit and the bear taking a shit in the woods?
Okay, here we go, dad joke. What is it?
Story time. Story time.
Yeah, what is this?
So there was a
No, it's
bear and a
not
rabbit.
story time. I'm not telling any stories. Hey, Jack, get on a board. Get on a board and focus, all right? How about that? How about you do that, Jack?
We always gotta have the pep talk with Jack.
Oh, this guy. You know what? We're going to talk after this. We need to have a meeting afterwards, and we need to see if
Coach is
Jack's
unhappy.
really a good fit for us, guys. You know?
So no, seriously,
Oh,
there was a bear and a rabbit taking a shit in the woods,
What are you talking about?
and
Jack,
the bear
Jack.
looks at the rabbit. The bear looks at the rabbit and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Rabbit, do you have problems with shit sticking to your fur?"
What are you talking
And the
about?
rabbit looks up and he says, "No, Mr. Bear, I don't." So bear reached down, picked up the rabbit, wiped his ass with him.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. I'll see you guys.
You're blowing Patrick's mind right now.
Shortest podcast ever.
And cut.
What?
You never heard that one?
No,
Nope. Nope.
I think
I have. From you about 7 times.
All right then. Did you hear about the pirate that walked into a bar?
Okay.
Oh my
Okay, I'm done.
God. Did my dad tell you all these when we took you to that drag race? Is that where these came from?
Yes. Let's talk about that drag race.
Wait a minute. When you say drag race, you mean cars, right?
No, we're talking guys dressed up as ladies running
I
down
knew
the
it.
street.
running,
knew it.
running in pumps.
Running
Yeah.
in pumps. No. It was
Lots of broken ankles.
It was a drag race, and Patrick's dad thought it would be really funny. I didn't know this, but after every race, these guys take the funny cars and the top fuel cars and break down the engine, clean it, and then build it. And then what they do is they prime the engine by putting a bunch of gas in it, and then they just start it up. I didn't know that that's what they did. Patrick's father thought that it would be cute to have me right by the exhaust. So when they hit the gas and they lit this stupid ass thing up, all of this burnt fuel just flew into my face. My
No, not
eyes
even
were
burnt.
burning.
It's horrible.
Wow. Dad,
Disfigured
That's so
Carlos.
mean.
He was never the same. That's where I get it.
Same.
You know, bully.
so Patrick,
Go ahead.
because you glazed over it, talk about the last Marvel movie you worked on.
Well, so the first job we did for Marvel was what's called main on end title sequence. So that phrase is like in my industry that it's acknowledged as that phrase, but it sounds weird to someone that doesn't know. Basically, all it is after the end of the movie, if there's a large animated title sequence, it's called the main on end. So we did that for Captain America, Winter Soldier, and then we went on from there to do Guardians of the Galaxy, which didn't have a main on end, but it did have locator cards, the main title in the beginning of the movie, all the titles for all the look at this, linking it up. Yeah, all the titles for the different actors and all that other stuff. So it's kind of cool to be in on a job like that, kind of early, but it's kind of an intense thing too, because there's always short turnaround on stuff, and you're dealing with people that, like, you're dealing with the top people at Marvel, like the executive producers. Like, when you see those credits, it's like there's no one above these people. So you're dealing with them, and they're making crazy expensive decisions, and they've only got you on their schedule for a couple minutes at a time because they're working on like 2 other movies at the same time, and so it's kind of an intense process, but it's a lot of fun.
Wasn't it super top secret too? That was like the stressful part, right? The day in and day out of working on it without letting no one know and all that good stuff. I mean,
yeah. So before they even started working on the project, Disney, because Disney owns Marvel, sent out security experts to the company to like check out all the servers and all that stuff. I see Jack down there smiling. What is he smirking at?
I got a follow-up story to that.
Sweet.
Oh, okay. So they do all types of like crazy security checks. You have to be like, in order for you to get into the company and out, you have to have a key fob that's got your like unique ID, and it signs you in and out. There's curtains over the whole area that's working on the project, NDAs. It's just super high tech. You can't use your cell phone anywhere near the computers. It's like locked down. Even the way they communicate with Marvel is like this whole nother level of like this hard drive with a key code on it. It's just it's some next level shit. Yeah, it's crazy. Your computer doesn't have the internet on it. Like, you're just like locked down.
Hey, how long was the project?
Captain America was like almost 2 months. It was like a month.
It's kind of crazy. You go into work. We get like, you know, everybody that's worked in the creative industry. You get used to certain things when you're working on your computer, and to be working on a computer with no internet, you can't really. It's probably seemed pretty crazy. Like, you know, I know I usually have to have my instant messenger up, you know, and a bunch of other stuff, Spotify, all this other stuff. Like, I'm sure you had to make do, but you know, it just seemed really, really crazy.
Did they ever make you have sign a contract that said that you're not allowed to put this on your resume or anything?
Yeah, so that's kind of a messed up thing too. It's not that. You can definitely say you did that, but anything that is not a finished Marvel piece. So I've done boards for projects. I gotta tiptoe around kind of the things I'm saying, but I've done boards for things that you're not even allowed to show, like storyboards or style frames, things like that. Things for the pitch process that you're not even allowed to show. But if you search online, you can find other people that have uploaded their stuff, and just technically they're supposed to get in
Anyway,
big heap of yeah, you're not supposed to post anything up. So it's sort of a weird thing, but it's up to, like, if it's a freelancer or an employee, it's up to that company to enforce that rule by Marvel. Otherwise, Marvel could say, like, well, we're not going to work with you anymore, obviously. So Swarovski has a strict policy about it, which totally makes sense to me. And, you know, you got to protect.
They want to keep that
yours.
business, yeah.
Of course.
So since you put in 10 years at this one company, at Optimus, and now you're doing freelance, which do you prefer?
Oh, freelance. Well, I shouldn't say that. They both have their upsides and downsides. Working full-time somewhere, you've got the benefits, and you've got the knowing that you've got a job to go to every day, and knowing your team. Well, assuming so. Yeah, you never know, but you know, it's at least more stable than freelance.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of benefits to it. You know your team. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You know, there's a lot of that stuff. Freelance, you can learn from so many more people. I wish I would have gone freelance earlier because I missed out on a lot of time where I could have been learning techniques or the way things are done elsewhere, especially when you've worked at the same place as your first career move for a long time. That's what you take to be the industry standard, which is not necessarily the case. That's a standard for that place. So I learned a lot of things that were like, oh, shit, like it's not like that everywhere. And that's been huge. That's been really helpful. So they both have their ups and downsides, but I think everyone should freelance for some period of time because it also makes you respect the freelance market. You know, like when I was full-time, I had freelance before going full-time, but I didn't really understand working with freelancers and sort of helping them along and getting people integrated and all that stuff. So it's a big thing in my industry anyway.
And then once you went into freelance, like how much paperwork goes into actually taking on a project, or is it something that you just don't even worry about?
Well, so it depends. If you're going direct to client or if you're working freelance for, it sort of depends on the job. There can be contractual stuff. I tend to not need contracts for any of my work. Tyrus, do you do a lot of contract work for your stuff? Like, do you
You know what?
submit
It depends. Like if somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, I need this right away," like I'm working with a company in Chicago, nah. But if it's a smaller company or individuals, yeah, I make them sign contracts. But big companies, they pay me before I even tell them what I'm going to do. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird world. You'd never think that would happen in freelancing, but it goes exactly like you're saying. Oftentimes, no contract.
Yeah, I sort of haven't been burned yet, so maybe that's part of the thing. I've listened to this audiobook called Design is a Job. It's pretty interesting. It's just by this graphic designer.
It's an audio
And
book? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got on Audible. It's pretty interesting, but this guy was saying, having run a business for a long time and freelance and use freelancers and all that, to never not have a contract. Like 100% of the time, have a contract. Doesn't matter who you're working with, whatever. And then he lists a bunch of his scenarios where it helped him out or where he wished he would have had one. He also talks about how you have to have a lawyer because having a lawyer can help you out if it starts to go south a little bit, all that stuff. But I never had one. So my paperwork is 1099, like all the tax shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is not cool because I just went to the tax man yesterday and it sucked.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with that this year.
So what you're saying, Patrick, is you do your taxes?
Man, I wish I didn't. Yeah.
You keep all that initial.
Man, I wish I know a bunch of tattoo artists that don't, and I'm like, man, that's gonna catch up.
Wesley Snipes him.
That's gonna hurt. Yeah,
as far as dealing with a lawyer, everyone take a look, do a Google search for this video called "Fuck You, Pay Me."
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Is that a good one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real good. It's a presentation that this designer did, and it's hard to say that the designer did it because what he did is he pulled his lawyer up there, and the designer had the whole crowd stand up and say, "Fuck you, pay me." And then he's like, "And this and that and that and this, and I'm doing all this work and all this other stuff." And then he would have everyone stand up and they said it all over again, and it was really cool to see this room full of designers just like getting amped up. And all it is them trying to get paid.
Yeah.
Was this at a Creative Mornings, Carlos? Was this a Creative Mornings talk? When he brought his lawyer up? Jack, do you know? You said you've seen this too?
Yeah, I don't think it's Creative Mornings. I think it was.
I feel like there's one of those where he brought his lawyer up and he's like, "This dude's amazing." Like gave props to his lawyer first, and then maybe not. Maybe.
It's.
Yeah, no one's ever seen that.
Yeah,
one
you're
before,
right.
Charlie.
It is Creative Mornings.
Yeah, Tyrus.
Mike Montiero.
No, there's no such video.
It's by Mike Montiero.
Yeah. That's what Creative Mornings is amazing. If you ever
Wait a second. That's the dude that did this book I was talking about. That's the writer of this Design is a Job book.
Circle.
What a small world.
That's weird.
Tyrus, be
There
quiet.
you go. I follow him on Twitter too.
Yeah. God, if
He's
you're creative and you get a chance to do that, go to a Creative Mornings. Each city has one, and Chicago has one, Austin has one, and these are great talks like the one Carlos brought up. And if you can even watch them online. You can go to their websites and they have them like recorded. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of different
Yeah.
ones.
Fuck You, Pay Me is on Vimeo. You can just type it in.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it on YouTube. I'll put it on the
YouTube links? Yeah, show notes, yeah.
Listed up. But you know what? Let me touch on something you just said about getting paid. Isn't it a weird thing when you work in an industry that there are not necessarily any hard costs involved with it? right? So having to justify your worth and what you are owed for your service, where there's no hard cost, meaning there's no product, there's no physical thing that's costing money, right? Like, so in post-production, just as an example, there's the post side, but then there's the production side, right? So production, it's easy for the client to say like, oh, well, I see you've got to rent the camera, you got to rent the lights, you know, there's physical things that cost money. But when it's just your time, people don't respect that as much. And I always find that so fascinating how you have to sort of like justify it. And I guess that happens more for smaller, like direct clients or people that are unfamiliar with sort of the business, but especially with like logo design and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a problem with that all the time. It's like you put down the number and people like freak out, and you're like, they're like, that's like $75 an hour, and I'm like, yeah, but I have software packages to pay for, I have overhead to pay for, I got to count all the time I'm emailing you back and forth. Like, there's a whole, overhead and all.
And Jack likes to spend a lot of time in the strip club. You have expenses. Hey, I got a question.
Pay me in singles.
I got a question for Patrick. So Patrick, when you negotiate your prices, talk about that a little bit, because I've learned that what the books say happen and what actually happens are two totally different things, right? And so I want you to talk about your experience in getting people to pay you your prices.
So you know what's a little funny about that, and this is going to sound baller, and it's not, but I don't have to negotiate it. Like I always just kind of say, for my main work, my main daytime work where I'm on site working with the studio, here's my day rate. If you don't want to take it, that's totally cool, but I've got 4 or 5 holds with other places, and they'll take it. So I never have anyone second guess my day rate, which is cool.
Talk about what's a hold, if our listeners don't know what that is.
Yeah, okay. So if you're freelancing and you've got some available time, let's say Company A and Company B both want to book you, but Company A got to you first by saying, hey, I want to put a hold on you, meaning they get first opportunity to book you.
Or retainer, too.
What's that?
Or retainer.
Yeah, same thing, right? So I'm always... I never have any downtime. I guess I'm lucky like that. Like I'm always going from booking to the next booking, but I've always got a bunch of holds. So if I've got 4 or 5 holds, I'll just have to go down the line until one of them books me. And I'm always upfront with whoever. Anytime someone emails me and says, hey, we want to know about your schedule, I'll tell them, okay, well, I can put you a 3rd hold for May or whatever. And if the other 2 don't book, then they have the opportunity.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you guys do the whole crazy like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th holds.
Yeah, it
Patrick
sucks.
does. Patrick does.
It's ridiculous.
They fight over him.
Well, it's stupid because it's like, firstly, it's all Scout's honor, right? And like I've lied on a lot of that stuff because you might want to work with someone who got to you 3rd more than you want to work with the person that got to you 2nd.
Hey Patrick, just so you know, this is live.
Incriminating. Right?
Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
He's so comfortable. It's like a Barbara Walters special. He's just like saying everything. He don't care.
Hey man, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Heart of my sleeve. No, it's but that's the way it is. But it also comes down to the project, So before I book, I like to know if the studio will give it up what the project they're trying to book me for, and I try to take that into account. And it sounds like star fucking, but
yes, it sounds exactly like that. Literally.
Well, hey man, if you want to get to a certain level, you gotta go for it. You gotta be a little selfish.
Basically, say if that Marvel project comes up, I don't care where you at in the line. Swarovski's getting pushed up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to work on
crystals.
I'm not even
Charmin commercials anymore.
No, I was gonna give up a brand or something. I'm not gonna say that.
Hey Patrick, let me hear. Talk to me about how you schedule out your years, though. Do you just go from project to project, or do you go, here are a couple of companies that I will work for, and you say this month or these 2 months I'm going to work here? Do you handle it that way at all, or do you just use the way you were just talking about?
Yeah, just the way I was talking about it. Like, I tend to work for the same place. When they end up having a lull, or if they've got some need for something else or whatever, if it doesn't work out for both of us, Then I'll go to whoever's got their second hold with me, and I'll check them out.
Mhm.
I've always got a handful of them, and I just have it right there in my iCal and call them up. But I'm always getting emailed from I'm always surprised how much work is out there. You always think you know of all the studios or all the places that do a certain kind of work, but there's always something new, and I'm trying to branch out into different stuff. Like, it would be cool to do something for a video game company sometime, just to try it out. Some logo animation, some cinematic work, something. So I'm just trying to try new shit.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you find your clients? Did they find you, or did you advertise, or is it word of mouth? Talk about that process for artists out there who are freelancing. Because when I first started freelancing about over a year ago, I had no idea how to find clients. Zero, right? So how did you start your clientele?
So for me, word of mouth has been the biggest thing, right? So it's really, there's a lot of other freelancers out there, be it freelance people that do the same work I do, or producers, or directors, or whatever. So when they're at some other place that maybe I've never worked with, and they need someone, they could be like, oh, I know this dude that does this, and he would be great. You should get him in here. So it ends up being that. I do a lot of networking and stuff too, a lot of like LinkedIn work and whatever, all that stuff. And that works out pretty good too. But it's mostly word of mouth.
Mhm.
The advice I'd like to give anyone is never feel like bashful to reach out to anyone. Like, I don't care what company, even if you're really not equipped for the kind of work that they do, just like shoot them an email. Like, find a contact, be personable, be direct, don't waste their time, but like fire them off an email, because all it takes is them to respond. Like, you sitting there typing out an email takes no time, and it doesn't hurt. Like, it's all good. And if they don't respond, then that's fine. You can follow up a week later. If they don't respond, then it's whatever. Maybe it'll come back around.
These networking events that you could possibly go to always have some sort of business card with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know artists have a tendency to be a little shy
Weird.
when it comes to networking and getting out there, and they feel a little bashful about, oh, here's my business card, this is what I do. That's something, if you want to get into the freelance world, that's something you have to get over. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You have to get out there. These networking events are specifically built for that. And everyone is there expecting to get business cards.
Yeah.
They're expecting for you to give them the pitch.
For sure. And along those lines, like, your personality and your attitude are, I would say, almost equally important to your skill, right? To like whatever your output is. Because I've worked with people before, other freelancers, that have been real weird and uncomfortable to work with, and no one really likes working with them. And go figure, they aren't extended to another booking. They never come back. You never see their face again. It's important. You got to be able to work with people and communicate to not only your team but your client and all that stuff. You got to be able to listen and communicate, two ways. It's huge.
And once you get that job, that's your networking is still not done. Because if you show up and you have a bad attitude, they're not going to ask you back.
No.
Right.
Or if you just
Let me ask everybody the kind of a question. It's something that kind of always goes around the workplace, and it's like, would you rather work with people who are really cool but just mediocre at their work, or really good but total jackasses?
That's a hard fucking question.
Wow.
And it comes up all the time
Really?
because most people kind of fit into one of those two categories, to be honest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something we all talk about. And for me, it's I'd rather work with somebody who is not a jerk. Let's put it that way. Because I mean, look, we've worked with a guy who's super talented, but everybody hates, right? You can't ask him a question without him rolling his eyes, or ask for help, or ask him to redo something, because that person feels like they're on top of the world and you're beneath them. Nobody really wants to work with that guy. I mean, at the end, the product is great, and you're like, oh, this is amazing, but it was a terrible process. And think about this. I remember when I was designing toys, and I'd have to work till like 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was working with some of my best friends. I mean, we would order food, hit each other in the head with balls at work, and when I say balls, I mean like rubber balls,
Okay.
and we throw across the room. And
It's like, y'all good friends.
What kind of toys were you making?
Smacker.
Well, it was the best time. It was a good time because we were good friends. We got along well.
Sounds like it.
Now, if you
Y'all
flip
were
the
real
coin,
close.
the bosses who we hate, we couldn't wait for them to walk out of the door. We literally couldn't wait for them to walk out of the door. They were talented, knew what they were doing, but nobody wanted to be
a real
behind them.
uneasy feeling, right? In the studio, especially if they're your boss, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Before.
Yeah.
We have a viewer question. Ryan Brockmeyer asks, does Patrick want to continue freelancing for multiple companies and clients, or does he want to eventually build his own company?
Ooh.
Oh man, I don't know. It's a lot. The Swarovski is owned and run by a lady named Erin Swarovski. I really look up to her a lot. She's unusual in a lot of ways, but mostly being that she's a woman. You know, in my field, not a lot of women, especially like in the creative side of things. Most of the women in my field end up being producers or whatever like that. But just the time I spend there, I really keep an eye on what it takes to run a company. It's a lot, you know. That's a big deal. I like the idea of working with people and bringing junior level artists up and doing the full creative direction. I love all of it, but it's a really scary thing. I might be into it someday, but I'm not there right now.
What's been your favorite project that you've ever worked on?
I think it would have to be that Captain America sequence, just because it was like the first of its kind for me. And, you know, it's sort of like when you look back on any moment in your life, like college or marriage or, you know, whatever, where you're like, oh, that was exciting. That was like a unique thing, very new to me. And it was my first time with that company, and it was super exciting. So, and it's done a lot.
Cool to
for
see
me.
it up on the big screen too, right? Like opening weekend and stuff.
Yeah, my heart, like I knew it was coming up, and my heart was like racing. Like it was like crazy. I had been looking at it for, you know, almost 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get credit? Do you get credited?
The credit thing sucks.
Oh,
You don't get credited?
It was 3 people, right? Wasn't it
Yeah.
like 3 people credited?
They didn't. They only allowed a certain number of credits, and so basically none of the freelancers and a handful of the full timers didn't get credit. But
That's what sucks about being on the website of things. I've worked on so many movies and been such a big part of all of the marketing for these different movies, and people don't know. People don't care. They're
right,
It's a
right.
cool ass website, and then they just don't care.
Let's go watch the movie now.
You know where my name goes? On the hello, my name is once I get laid off.
Yeah.
I know of a specific website that shall not be named where you can find your image.
Find your name on there.
Oh yeah. Let's say TomCruise.com. We all know what you're talking about. Let's blow it up.
Blow it up.
I came.
Wow.
Let's blow it up, man.
Patrick don't care.
So, back to that Scientology.
There is one website that I left my signature on.
Back to Scientology. I came to LA and I'm hanging out with Carlos. We're walking through the lobby, and he's like, "Yeah, come here, let me show you something." He pulls up this magnificent website, and it belongs to a superstar. And I'm like, "Dude, you did his website?" He's like, "Yeah, check this out." I don't want to. I'm gonna be quiet.
Wait, why are you already talking like we don't know who it is?
I'm saying for the audience doesn't know.
Patrick just said it.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? I didn't hear him because Charlie was laughing over the mic. I couldn't hear what he said.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't say it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Carlos, why don't you tell us?
Yeah.
You could brag. It's the podcast.
We're talking about Patrick right now. People like that got a lot of pull. People like that got a lot of pull, and I need work.
You have secret Scientology agents after you.
Hey man, I'll go up against Scientology for you any day.
And you
So
lose.
moving on.
And you lose.
Carlos running
Golly.
down the streets. You're after me.
Hey,
Right.
speaking of being out in LA and getting the Carlos treatment, he took me to Harold's too, but I didn't get to see Floyd Mayweather.
We didn't, well,
Oh.
why we
No,
didn't go
because
to
you wanted to
Harold's.
go to that record shop.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
that was the
Yeah,
shit.
see.
You're welcome.
And we
Yeah,
went to
no.
we went to the chicken and waffle,
Dude.
Roscoe's, not Harold's.
Oh yeah,
No, we
Bro,
went
Oh,
to
that's in
listen,
Roscoe's.
Chicago, man.
Patrick,
Roscoe's, yeah.
I'll take you to Harold's if you want to go. You're paying, of course. but
Tyrus, tell them where the best one is. What's the one
we
you think?
can't say that out loud, dude. All of a sudden it'll be full of white people. Let's get focused.
This
Why do you
really-
think there's only white people listening to this?
Okay. The views expressed by Tyrus are those of Tyrus and Tyrus alone. The others
Oh,
on this
man.
podcast do enjoy white people.
Not me.
For those listening on iTunes,
I think hold up. Let me wipe this down. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the SoundCloud numbers or nothing. All right.
I told you. I said, be quiet, dude. It's like, oh, nobody looks at it on YouTube yet.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
on a related note,
Yes.
none of you guys know this. I got an email today. The Sketch Zone podcast is officially on Stitcher, Stitcher.com.
What's up?
Yeah.
That's what's
Cool,
up.
cool.
Nice.
Ryan Brockmeyer wants to know if it was Amoeba Music. He did go there. Amoeba
No.
Records was across the street from the CNN building where I used to work.
Yeah, no, that place is super cool. No, this is
So we went to that other one.
Head Noise, right? Head Noise Records. It was just a punk rock shop.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, man, it was super cool. Where was the guy from? He was like French or something.
Yeah. He was
Not Head Noise. What
he
was
was
that?
wacky, dude. Did he own that joint? Or no, he was just working there.
Oh no, he owned it. Headline Records.
Headline?
That's what it was. Yeah, Head Noise was a crappy Christian band from the. Never mind.
Wait, what?
They were like a horrible Christian punk band from the early 2000s that sucked. Head Noise, Headline, they're close names. I got them confused.
Patrick, would you ever consider working with a group of people, a group of freelancers at all? Like, let's say you do
Like a collective or something?
Yeah, like a collective.
Yeah, so I've got some friends that do that, and I've been contacted about some of that work before. My schedule hasn't aligned with theirs, but yeah, I'd totally do that. Because then those tend to be direct to client, so it's just a different relationship, and that can go sort of long term. You know, that can build into something more, which is cool.
I see a lot more artists going in that direction too. There's been a lot of comic artists that, especially in Florida for some reason, a lot of comic artists will go and they'll rent an office space and everyone goes there and they have their own assignments, they have their own stuff, but they all kick in and try to make it feel like a studio without actually being a studio.
There's a lot of those
Sure.
places popping up, like creative co-working places.
Yeah.
But on a smaller level, but yeah, they're it's good.
There's a place in Chicago, it's a group of guys, Theory Group, but they spell it Theare and with a long E or whatever, Theory Group.
Creative
Yeah.
name.
Those
Not
guys,
liking that.
we're gonna have them on the podcast here pretty soon because they're
Oh, okay.
Patrick does not like him.
With Patrick. Make sure Patrick comes back.
well,
Yeah.
Name comes in real quick. What's with the name? So creative.
No, man, those guys are cool. I follow their work.
Nice.
they're still new.
They're
Anyway,
killing the game. No, so like in your example, not necessarily the theory group or whatever, but are they all working on the same project? So is it essentially like, you know, like I don't know, let's say Image, like or like let's say like a Spawn comic, right? Are they doing their own version of a comic that's all together, but just not under a publisher?
well, Theory doesn't do comics. They do all kinds of other design and development and all that stuff, videos. But the guys in Florida, they actually they all have their own comic book that they're working on. They just all chip in to have this office space. But then I've also heard of
Yeah.
like a penciler getting together with a inker,
Colorist,
getting
yeah.
together with a colorist,
Mhm.
getting together with an author or a writer, and then they all get together and they create their own stuff.
Hmm.
Speaking of that, there's another group that's an old school group, and if you're into comics, you would know who they are. So early 2000s, when like in comics, the graffiti style kind of like of characters and artwork was like really heavy and really influencing a lot of Marvel and Image and Top Cow and all these other ones. And there was a collective called Lead Heavy, and it had back in the day, I can't remember all the members, but it had Kerry Randolph, Scotty Young. Some of you guys, Tyrus, you know who Scotty Young is. All these guys. I kind of want to get like if I can get a Lead Heavy reunion where it's Kerry Randolph. If you ever want to know a really kick-ass comic book artist, Kerry Randolph and Scotty Young, and all these guys are like
Scotty Young is
yeah,
so
they've
good.
evolved into something so much more. When before they had this very hip hop graffiti type style of like comics, and they started when they broke into the industry, they started doing their take on Spider-Man. They started doing their take on all these other ones. And Kerry has went on to do like cartoons now. Scotty does books and children's books and all this other stuff now. I want to try to get like a Lead Heavy like reunion on the podcast because that'd be kind of cool. And those guys are good. But that's another
Do
example
you
of
guys
like
actually know
collective.
Scotty Young?
I know Kerry Randolph. I met him at he used to come at Comic-Con all the time. I met him when I was at EA.
Why don't you
So,
brag about it?
I do because I know him. He asked a
If
question.
you like him so much, why don't you marry him?
I'm gonna get him on the podcast. How about I do that and do you a favor?
That'll be even better.
Good. Stop talking. Let's move on.
Nobody likes you, Charlie. So,
That's a chuckle. That's a chuckle.
have you guys heard of Tidal.com?
Yeah. Jay-Z
oh,
just
yeah,
bought
Did
that
now.
company. Jay-Z bought that company for $56 million.
TIDAL.
It's a little weird.
What do you think about that? I want to. This is a good subject. Good job, Carlos. Because I want to get
See how I
Carlos
got that in there?
too.
That's why I
Carlos
got
and I want to get Tyrus. I want to get your take on this too. Carlos, do you know? Can you talk a little bit about the philosophy?
So basically, Tidal is
Spell it.
TIDAL.com, like
Yeah, yeah.
tidal wave. TIDAL. And what? Kanye and Jay-Z, or was it just Jay-Z?
It was
Have
Jay-Z
bought
at first. He bought it for $56 million, but then he brought in some
He
of
brought in
the
all this talent.
all the top
And
names.
Basically, all it is like iTunes Music and Spotify.
Yeah, it's a
just
streaming service.
another-
Yeah.
it's a streaming service for all this music. But I think what it is,
Hi-fi.
it will give
Yeah.
give the artist more money.
hmm
So basically, what's happening right now is the technology companies go out and they license this music, then they serve it up, and then the artists get, maybe a couple pennies per however many plays. And Taylor Swift was like, yeah, this is bunk. So she pulls all her music. She's not doing any kind
On
of
Spotify, yeah.
streaming anything. So then what Tidal did is it got all of these artists together, and I saw some video where all these artists, they had Dead Mouse, they had
They had Daft Punk. They have Madonna.
Madonna,
Kanye,
they had
Um,
Alicia Keys. All these guys were up on stage. Madonna's nasty ass threw her leg up on the table. Is
Silly.
Patrick,
Patrick,
Patrick and I start shaking our heads like,
No.
knock it off.
just stop it with the visuals because you got all artists in here.
Embarrassing.
So anyway, all these people were signing this piece of paper. No one really. It's probably not a contract because they're not silly enough to pull their music from everywhere. Not to mention they probably don't own the copyright to their own music. At least the majority of them probably don't.
No,
Yeah, I
but
don't think-
everybody,
I don't
but
think it's
everybody in that
exclusive.
video though. But everyone in that video has stake in the company now, and that's the whole reason why they did it. So Beyonce, Kanye, Deadmau5, Daft Punk, all those guys. They brought them in, and Jay-Z's offering equity in the company, and what his thinking is if they have a stake in the company, they're more likely to push the company's name more, and then thus put more exclusive content on there. So it's a subscription-based service.
That's what's going to differentiate Tidal from everything else.
Yeah, it's subscription-based. It's not free. Yeah,
it's that, but it's also a two-tiered thing, right?
Right.
So it's
so
considered
$10
hi-fi.
and $20. Yeah, so $10 for normal, $20 for the hi-fi. And what he thinks is if people will pay for a subscription-based service if they're going to get exclusive content nowhere else, and they're going to pay more for higher quality. And what companies like Spotify is saying is that we're going to have a free model, right, where we pay it through ad revenue, and then of like Spotify's like 60 million people that are on Spotify, about 15 million or so are like actual paid. So what Spotify says, if we give a free service, eventually some of those free people will transfer over into money, and that's what making Spotify successful. And Jay-Z and a lot of the artists are not liking that because they're not seeing the type of royalties that they feel that they should. So by having a service that's run by the artists, they feel that people will flock to that more. So if Kanye drops his new album on Tidal only and then drops it on everywhere else 3 or 4 weeks later, then they're thinking that's where the business model is going to go, and that's the whole thinking. So that's why Jay-Z went out and got all these different people. Now I don't know how long he's going to be able to like keep giving these top tier artists equity in the company, because eventually that equity is going to run out. And then I guess there'll be a tiered system after that. But this is like the thinking that if you support Tidal, you're supporting the artist directly more, and that's that whole thing. And there's no free version of it, you know.
That's all cool, but man, that's an uphill battle, you know, and that's expensive. Their price point is a little bit out
$10
there.
a month, yeah.
Well, but especially the 20, right?
Yeah, right.
Because otherwise, you could do Spotify. What does Spotify cost? Their regular subscription.
$7.99, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know, man.
For lower quality, but the one of the critics are saying, will the average person, will somebody understand?
Yeah, I mean, how many people really actually care about the hi-fi? I mean, let's be honest. How many people do you think really are going to go for that?
You've got to have
in
really
the world of
high
music pirates.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are taking stuff on YouTube. They're watching music on YouTube, and that is, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but if you control, like, so I think what you're thinking is, even if somebody snatches the new Kanye off of Tidal, right, and then puts it online, at some point they had to pay for it. Somebody paid for Tidal at one point to get it, and maybe that's getting royalties more to the artist. So it sounds like it's benefiting the artist technically more than the consumer, but which is like a scary thing because it should be all about the consumer. But what do you think, Tyrus?
I think he's muted.
He's muted.
You muted, Tyrus.
So check this out.
All right, I'm back.
Jay-Z bought Tidal right after Apple bought Beats.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a power play where he's basically trying to get Apple to buy them. Or,
maybe,
because I think Google's coming out with their own music service.
But that would ruin his whole thing, marketing thing he just pulled up, where it's being owned by the artists.
So let me play devil's advocate to the conversation. So when you think about, there's a price point that's higher than some other services, but when you think about the fact it's got a name attached to it or several names attached to it, I think that changes the game. When you say Kanye, Jay-Z, Beyonce, you have fans.
Nicki Minaj, everybody, Madonna. Yeah.
You have fans and sycophants who say, I want to give my favorite artist money. It's crazy as it sounds. Like, for example, Jordans, right? They're selling $220 gym shoes where you can go and buy shoes for $75. But there's a line like 4 times a year to sell Jordans based on a name because fans just want to be fans at times. So I can see why Jay-Z would do this. And I think he wouldn't sell to iTunes because, well, one, why would iTunes buy them? The whole point is to get away from iTunes because of the royalty issue. So now he would be in control. They would be in control of their royalties. They would be in control of the content, what was played, and they would make more money that way. So you wouldn't win by selling it especially now to iTunes.
Agreed.
Hang on real quick, because let me give you a little bit of information for that. When they bought Beats was Dr. Dre and a record producer.
Yeah.
So,
What's that got to do with anything?
hang on. They also had a music service that was also promising to give the artists more.
But that wasn't out yet, though. Their music service
Well,
wasn't out yet.
it was out. It was just shitty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, so Apple
now
had to
you
redo
have
it. Yeah.
Apple, who has the Beats, and then you have kind of a really bad music service. They're going to redo it. Everyone who uses iTunes practically hates it. And now you have Jay-Z with a power move. Go
Because
ahead.
think about it.
Go ahead, Cyrus.
I'm looking at this thing. Like, they pretty sweep. If we talk about who they took, right? In terms of having Nicki Minaj, having Rihanna, having Deadmau5, having Madonna.
Yeah, but I understand I'm not the norm, but I don't give a shit about any of those.
But doesn't
like
matter.
anyone on that stage.
Yeah, but doesn't matter because all these people, like, if you think about who's playing on the radio and what and who has like the biggest following on Twitter, that they're like that. You gotta think of it like that. Yes,
of course.
You're probably gonna be way different.
But it's got to be more than just the owners of the company that's got to entice you. I think that only goes.
But
so
they're
far.
artists. They're not. It's not like a tech company at this point, though. I mean, like thousands of like 16-year-olds are gonna want to go wherever Nicki Minaj is going. There's thousands of girls are gonna go where Beyonce's going. Do you know how much Beyonce made when she dropped her CD for free on the internet, or when she dropped her CD on the internet without any publicity? Like,
are 16-year-olds gonna be paying for this $10 or $20?
Their parents will, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, they will. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't do it. We would say, well, that's crazy. But you have an entire generation of people who they don't think like we do. They're like Beyonce fans. Oh my goodness, dude, those people are insane. You can't even say anything bad about her. So if she says, I have a service and I want you to support it, they're all going to go over and support it. Kanye fans, they're going to go and support it. I mean, and even to a certain extent, Jay-Z fans are going to go and support it because Jay-Z's a power move maker, and his fans want him to be successful because he's always been successful. So,
and you're talking about a group of people that are wearing $200 shoes and haven't had a job a day in their life.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But they're gonna want that high five.
They want to wear 200. They want to wear 200. Yeah, and
it might be like, dude, you don't got that high five version. You got that crappy version. You know, like people have weird ways of trying to make themselves feel like they're better than the other.
Right.
And so it could work. Now there's a couple other people like Drake and a couple other people that he hasn't signed. But what does he do? So then, from an Apple standpoint, who are you trying to snap up before he goes and talks? Before Jay-Z goes and talks to these other people in the industry they haven't snapped up, like Drake and Wayne.
Or being Apple, you show up and you say, dude, we have the market covered.
Yeah.
And we're going to come out with some new hotness.
Well, I think Dame Dash has certainly taught everybody, start your own company, stop following. And no, I mean, I joke about that, but that's the talk of the town right now. Everybody's saying,
he just bought a company with Kanye.
Yeah, right. And so he's putting his money where his mouth is, but people are paying attention and listening. So a lot of stuff he said, like, about never working for anybody. Yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense for most people, right? Many of us aren't going to become drug dealers and work for ourselves. That doesn't make any sense.
And flip that profit.
Right, right. But outside of what he's saying is like, look, if we have an opportunity to own our own thing, and then all of a sudden you see artists. He and Kanye go out and buy that. What was it, like a shoe company or website?
It was a clothing brand, and it had multiple brands. Karmaloop, yeah.
Karmaloop, yeah. They go out and buy that. Jay-Z's doing this thing. I think there's a tide, and people are trying to get on it and say, look, yeah, we're going to go about it in a different way. So I think actually this does have a chance of being successful, and the anti-establishment is what people are saying. So they're not going to go and say, we're going to give this to iTunes and we're going to sell it to iTunes. Let's say, let's see how long we can go with this. Let's see how far we can take it. And if you think about this, 50 Cent and Dr. Dre kind of created the blueprint for this. But Dr. Dre held onto his product long enough that he became a billionaire from it. So I can't imagine him selling so quickly or even considering it for a long time.
Because they've been getting Jay's been getting a lot of flack for it, and like I've been reading a lot of articles about this move, and I'm like, you gotta understand, the dude spent $56 million. I gotta believe that he had a bunch of advisors at this point because he buys like ball clubs and all this other stuff. That's a lot of chunk of change to like gamble on a streaming service that could fail because you're getting into technology, which is always iffy, right? So there has to be like some type of like influence or something that he was thinking like, yeah, I probably can pull this off if I do it, because it just seems like too big of a gamble. But most people are writing it off at this point. I was reading articles on Verge and a couple other places where they're like, they're thinking the opposite. They're thinking it's too high of a price point. People are not going to pay, blah blah blah. But we'll have to see.
Jack, do you use Spotify?
Nope. I mean, like the free version.
What's the difference between the free version and the
It
paid
just
version?
says
Ads.
ads every one.
So every couple songs, after every song or so, or every 2 songs, just like an ad for whatever.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like Pandora.
Well,
Mhm.
no, because Pandora
No.
you can't search specifically for songs. At least like Spotify, you can find stuff.
It's
to play.
just ads. Yeah, it's a really nice service, but like, the ads are hilarious, and then it's the same ad. So like, so if I listen to a whole album while I'm working, like, I'm hearing that ad like 25 times.
And let me tell you something about Pandora ads. I don't know how they know, but them sons of bitches keep giving me the Spanish advertisements.
That's because you're only listening to like
them.
mariachi music. And
And Selena.
Or because you sign in with carlosgomez.com.
Yeah, that's true.
damn, smart.
But I understand them, but whatever.
You understand? So that's why I give it to you.
Catches you off guard.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh.
I'm like, wait a minute, where am I?
They're talking to me.
One of the things that's interesting about Tidal is they advertise that they're going to have a lot of music videos on there. And I'm curious what that's going to do, if it's going to be worth it, or if it's going to be the same video you see on YouTube.
Well, think about it. Maybe it won't be, though.
That's what I mean. It could be like a resurgence of music videos.
They
Which
could
would
say,
be,
I'm going to drop this. I can see Nicki Minaj and everybody else like, I'm going to drop this new video only here, or you get it with
Or
the
check
album.
this out. Check this out, because have you guys heard of Periscope for Twitter?
Periscope. Mm-mm. What is
Basically, it's a streaming service that Twitter bought, and you launch Periscope, and it puts a link on your Twitter, and all your Twitter followers will be able to click on that and see you. And I was gonna do it tonight, but they'd only be able to hear me and not you guys. But
is that like? Have you heard of Meerkat?
Exactly,
Yeah,
Meerkat.
yeah.
Meerkat got its legs chopped out from under him because Twitter went and bought Periscope. Yeah.
Okay.
So they came out with Meerkat, and then but now going off on a tangent. So Meerkat wanted to do a streaming service for Twitter and for social networks in general. Twitter went out and bought their own, so now Meerkat I think is going to go and try to maybe work on something for Facebook or whoever else.
So Twitter said, skip you. I don't really want you, Meerkat.
Yeah, well, they saw it. I mean, Twitter has it's hard to understand how you can make money off of Twitter. And they're trying to broaden their market, and by doing this. So anyway, I was watching Periscope last night, and someone was at the Maroon 5 concert, periscoping the entire concert live.
How did that sound though?
It sounded like a streaming service. Someone on their iPhone streaming the Maroon 5 concert. So now imagine having that power, but a legitimate camera shooting it. So imagine if Tidal, all these people that are there, all these artists, they have their concert, they have all these cameras. What if these cameras feed into a streaming service? Now all of a sudden, you're paying $20 a month, and you can see unlimited concerts, maybe.
Or you hear or listen to live concerts as it's going on.
Yeah.
Because I like listening to live concerts that are recorded. Those are some. They always play different versions of the song, so it's like really good.
Yeah.
I think I think a couple of things that we lost in culture that some of these apps could possibly bring back. You remember when MTV used to have the concert series and the artists would come and sit on stage? I remember Jay-Z.
Dude, Jay-Z was the best one.
Jay-Z with the Roots, that was amazing.
Oh,
I love Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill's one with the Roots.
Lauryn Hill's was amazing. and somehow we lost all of that. Somehow we lost all of those things, and we lost music videos. And so it'd be nice to see if these artists can bring those things back. You know, like the beauty of music, where you have a live show or you have these music videos that were actually expressive, because we lost all of that.
Yeah.
I
agree.
wonder why though. Why we lose it like that? Do you think it was just like more of a? Because I can't imagine that when they do a Jay-Z, the Blueprint one, or when they did the Lauryn Hill, they lost money that night in ratings, or like I don't understand why those things go away.
It's all money, man. It's all business. You
Yeah.
know, I'm sure they're running the numbers.
Mhm.
They make more money off some reality show than they do some live set. You know.
Clearly, and you can re-show it and people watch it. Yeah.
Can we talk about Catfish though? Because that's amazing reality show that I know Patrick is like obsessed with.
Dude,
You want to talk about making more money off of that than a video? That
my
show,
God.
if you have not seen it, is amazing.
Yes.
Tyrus,
I'm not gonna get all fanboy.
You mean the movie? You mean the movie or the movie?
No,
Catfish?
no, the show.
I've seen a couple episodes.
Yeah.
I got Catfish before. You want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Story time?
Yeah, dude. This is so. Listen, this just happened, too. So, some dude is like, all of a sudden, I'm getting these requests from these women.
I like where this is going.
Oh, here we go.
I'm thinking like, okay, they're probably fans of my artwork, whatever, no big deal. And this person's like, I am me, just casual conversation. Then all of a sudden, somebody else's I am me casual conversation. Come to find out, a friend of mine goes, hey, there's a dude who's breaking into people's account and stealing their pictures and pretending to be them, and we think he's on your friends list. Sure enough, they give me the proof. This guy is like a dude who's pretending to be girls, and it's crazy, and it's sickening, too. Like, who does it? Who's got time in a day to do this kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
There's some dude running out there with a printout of Tyrus's face with a drawstring going around the back of his head, trying to pick up girls. Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
It's terrible. Terrible.
The people's champ, girl.
Damn.
I'm the people's champ. Let's go.
That's hilarious. Only you, Tyrus. Only you.
It was a terrible experience. I felt violated. I wanted to sit on Oprah's couch and figure this thing out. I crawled in the corner of my shower.
There's some dude with that same cutout with the same drawstring jumping on the couch talking
Tyrus
about, I'm in love, I'm in love.
He's going to find a new Facebook page with all his pictures.
Stop it. Don't give anybody ideas, dude. It's terrible.
So let's switch topics and let's start talking about 3D for a second.
Okay.
Have any of you guys done any 3D printing at all?
CB.
I have.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do all those classes.
Yes.
Very
Yep.
nice.
Yeah, I do it for a company called CG Cookie, and we put on free classes using the open source software called Blender, which is another 3D software. It's totally free. Go download it. It's amazing software.
Shout out to CG Cookie, our boy Wes, who's over there doing a great job.
We're gonna have Wes on
your
here
boy, Wes.
one of these days, but Wes has a lot of kids, so I don't know if he'd be able to stay up to
So does Tyrus.
No, Tyrus is like not normal though. Wes
Let's
is like, Wes is
move on. Let's move on.
Like how we sweep under the rug. CG Cookie does those. Yeah.
Okay, so that's CG Cookie. So one of the big 3D companies out there is Autodesk, and Autodesk came out with this app. I'm gonna try to show it without actually
looking at your tweets right now, man.
What's up? Easy, all up in my business. So if you guys look,
what's the app called?
It's called crap. Not that I should have. It's called.
Hey Jack, what's the app called?
It's called Tinker Play.
Oh yeah.
It's called Tinker Play, and I'm sorry for those of you guys that aren't that can't see this.
Well, that's awesome.
Basically, it's this cute little app, and you get this 3D character, and you can touch and spin it around, and you can zoom in and zoom out. And what's cool is you can grab his little body parts, his arm, because I have to be careful what I say around you guys.
Yeah, because
you can move his arm around.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
All right.
And then you can actually. What I'm trying to do is so this is the landing screen.
Mm-hmm.
and then you can go in and you can create a new character. And you get to select the body type, the arm type, the groin type, legs, arms, hands, and all this stuff.
The groin type.
Groin type.
They have groin types.
Not going there.
And so you can sit here and you play with this, and you can create your own
Character.
3D character,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can actually send it to a 3D printer.
Now,
How much
funny,
do they charge you?
it's like a play. Yeah, how much is it?
The app is free.
No, but how much do they charge for a printed?
You send
product.
it to your own printer.
Oh, so whoever you
Oh,
does it kick out a STL format that you emails to you or
Okay.
something?
Okay. No, I think you just hit. I think you just hit print or something.
Okay,
I don't know. I
This
don't
is
have
amazing.
a 3D printer, so I haven't gone that far.
So
but
it's funny that they call it Tinker what?
Tinker
Stink-
Play.
Tinker
Stinker
Play.
play.
Because there's another program that a lot of the libraries and a lot of the people that use like Ultimakers and other 3D other printers called Tinkercad, which is a real simple program that some people use to get into 3D printing, where you can build stuff in Tinkercad and it works with like printers like the Ultimaker series and all these other printers. So it's funny that like Autodesk is like trying to play off of the success of Tinkercad, and they call it Tinker Play. It's like really
They're
really
just mad that they use the CAD, because don't they make CAD?
yeah they do. And I don't know who owns Tinkercad actually. It'd be funny if Autodesk owned them.
But let me ask a dumb question. Why would you want to print that little dude right there?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no character. There's no interest in that.
Look, artist, of course you wouldn't want to print it out. But
Well, I'm saying, what's
middle
the
school
market though?
student,
Because
middle school student or a high school student getting into 3D, they'd want to print it out.
Or soccer mom.
Or a soccer mom.
I'm not
Hello,
sure if you
soccer
can
moms
load
out
your,
there.
I'm not sure if you can load your own model or whatever, but
yeah, it just looks so limited, and that's cool as an entry level thing. I get that, but it just doesn't seem like there's much to it yet. It seems too early to like be an
I think
actual
3D
application,
I think
right?
3D printing itself is in the preliminary stages.
But it's booming. It is amazing. There's a new 3D printer that comes out every like week. There's another good one. There's another new one that came out on oh my gosh, let me find it. They came out on a Kickstarter, and they're like innovating the way the printer is, and they're only selling it for like $179. The price keeps getting lower and lower, and they're claiming to be more accurate than the ones that are on the market now. Let me find the link, and I will tell you what it is. I showed it today.
There's
It's
a
getting
documentary on
ridiculous.
Netflix called Print the what is it? Print the Legend.
Print the Legend. Oh.
Yeah, it's really good. It's basically about the battle. There was like 2 or 3 companies that were making 3D printers, and it's the battle between them to be the first. And then what happened was, in each of the companies, they had 2 friends that were trying to lead the company, and they both broke up. They one of them was in both relationships. One of the partners had to leave
Wow.
just because they got super successful, and then just things happened.
Yeah.
Print the
That's crazy.
Legend.
Things
I'm gonna-
will happen.
I'm gonna look that up. The other thing I was talking about, the other printer I was talking about, it already got funded on Kickstarter, but it's by a company called Tyco. It's called Tyco, and it's the unibody 3D printer. So basically, it's kind of like in the shape of like a here, I'm gonna share my screen. It's in the shape of a triangle, and they're just saying the design aspect of it fortifies the printer head so that it's more accurate. But they're going to be selling it for like $179, which if you look up how much like a 3D printer costs now, it's way cheaper. And like there's more and more companies on Kickstarter that are getting their like patents and their ideas like manufactured and getting crowdfunded. And their goal was only 100,000. They already made 439. So like It's pretty interesting. We'll put the link in the notes. Go watch the Kickstarter video. Things like this keep popping up. I think 3D printing is gonna blow up. So it's
We have
definitely
a
something
we
to
have a
get
viewer
into.
question by Rich Cougar Graphics. Says, how do you guys feel about apps like this that are very basic in nature compared to full PC software?
That one's looks like it's meant for entry level stuff, and there's something to be said for getting into this stuff and that barrier, getting through that initial barrier of this stuff. But it's never going to compete with the real deal software.
I mean, like outside of like software, like like Blender, which is an open source software that's like just as good as Max or Maya and some of these industry standard 3D softwares. You need entry level stuff like for like the youth. I think that's to be a good place for it. Like for like the sixth graders, the summer camps. There's a bunch of Tyrus knows this because he's done some research on this already. There's like crazy amount of 3D summer camps popping up all over through like your local public school system, through the libraries that I do a lot of stuff, work with a lot of libraries and like art centers and stuff like that. But that's where I think that kind of stuff is happening. You should introduce somebody to Tinker or whatever the Autodesk product, because that kind of gets something tangible they can take home the first day of class. Yes, it's not like something they designed, but like it's something they kind of designed and had an idea, had hands-on time with.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not even necessarily, I mean, it wouldn't have to be for designers. I mean, once it gets to the point where everybody's got a 3D printer in their house and you just download a lot, I mean, it's the replicator from Star Trek. You go, I need a push pin, or I need this piece of hinge that fell off my door. It's like you buy the blueprint from some company and you just print it in your office and go install it. So I mean, there's definitely, and I could see that being huge on a phone. Like I need a little replacement part.
Oh, they make phone cases and stuff now at the libraries and stuff like that. And like I knew my buddy broke a valve off his like mattress. His like what is it? The blow up mattress. He broke off a valve, printed a new one, and used that. He uses that. He broke his joystick on his Xbox. So he takes the Xbox apart with the joystick that still works, looks at it, figures out the size, and does the measurements, and then models a new thumbstick, and then puts it in and it works perfectly.
And here's one for you. I was invited to be a part of this TV show pitch. I can't really get into it, but I was able to see this one guy's game. He had it on his iPad, and it was basically, what is it, Tamagotchi, where you have your little character, you have to feed it and play with it.
Oh, it's like old school 90s stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then you're able to like spin this around in 3D, and you're able to decorate your own little monster in whatever way, and then you can hit print, and it would send the order to the factory. The factory would then mail you your custom toy. And that's where everything is going with all this 3D stuff. The interaction of you, like you take this monster, it was a monster, you play with it, you do all kinds of things, you can paint him and put genes on him and all kinds of stuff, and then you basically release him, and by releasing him you send him to the printer. So this, I think, is actually taking it to the next level, where not only are kids playing on their iPads, they're able to customize their toy, and then eventually you're getting the toy that you just played with, you have in your hand.
Yeah, that's super cool. It doesn't look like that Autodesk one is there yet, but that concept is super cool.
Yeah.
It's going to put Lego out of business.
Yeah, seriously.
Imagine just start printing out your own Legos.
Yep.
Duplicating the ones you already have, and then just makes this big, huge Lego set. I just grab like a 10-pack and just multiply it.
What do you guys think about companies like Adobe trying to go more mobile with Photoshop for the iPad or the new Comp app? I don't ever see professionals like us using them full time, and yes, we're still a long ways from that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. As long as they don't as long as they keep up with the features with their core professional products, then have at it. Do whatever you want on the
Patrick's
side.
like, yo, don't mess up my product because I need
Well,
that.
that's sort of how I
Take
feel about
focus.
Apple right now. Apple is kind of screwed over the pros, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
They
their
give you a
software,
watch,
their
Patrick.
hardware.
They're giving you a watch, man.
That's what I mean. So I'm scared that Adobe would go that route someday, but
I think the computer-based software is not going to go anywhere because there's always going to be the super users. The mobile apps and the devices themselves are getting more powerful. Yes. You don't know when creativity is going to hit. So what they're trying to do is, if you look, there's an app that Adobe has, Adobe Brushes or something like that, where you can take a picture of a shape and you can make a brush. You save it to your library, and then that library on your Creative Cloud is then available to you when you get home on your computer when you're actually doing your big work. Jack, have you played with any of that stuff yet?
Not those specifically, but I mean, I've messed around with the iPad version of Photoshop Express and like Sketchbook. What's the Autodesk one? Sketchbook, whatever. And
Sketchbook Pro.
Sketchbook Pro.
Sketchbook Pro.
I mean, they're all right, but it's like it's just that tech. I mean, the mobile technology is always going to be behind the bigger, better computer. It's just it's kind of inherent in the hardware, but I do see as that gets better and faster and more responsive, for sure. I would love to replace a sketchbook with a super responsive, iPad type thing, but it's just not there yet. So I mean, in the future, probably. But that said, as that gets better, so is the stuff on the desktop. So it's kind of, you always want the great stuff you have on the desktop on your mobile device, and I don't know that the two will ever be fully synchronized.
yeah, because I think some of the things you like about your desktop is that the space, your comfort, that's what you're used to working in. It's all that stuff that is going to be hard to replicate in a mobile version,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not just the features in the product that make the product.
The closest I've ever gotten is my my Cintiq companion, and I'm able to take this thing with me everywhere I go, and it doesn't matter how portable it is. When I set it down on a table and use it as a proper desktop, that's when I get the best work done.
Which is something to be said about that. Because at that point, why not have your nice, regular, more powerful Cintiq, right there at your desk?
My goal, my short-term goal is to get like one of those Mac Pros, the little garbage can ones, and
Amen.
and the biggest Wacom Cintiq possible, and
Wacom.
use that combo. Use that combo.
Yeah, so I don't want to change subjects because I want to talk about that. I think I sent this to you a little while ago. That program called AstroPad for your iPad.
Yeah.
That I tried it. I didn't pay for it because it's like $50 or something. Or actually, it looks like it's down to 30 now. But that was really powerful for what that was. So I encourage anyone that wants something like that to try it if they already have an iPad.
What did it do?
So it just, I don't want to say it mirrors your desktop, but essentially that's what it's doing.
What's it called?
AstroPad.
AstroPad.
But the latency and the functionality of it, I just played around with it for a half hour one day, and it was really impressive for what it was.
And
so,
it had the pressure sensitivity too, didn't it?
No, not really. That's the one thing you're going to be missing. So, depending on the kind of work you want it for.
Were you using a stylus with pressure sensitivity built in?
No, I don't have one of those. I just have a regular stylus.
Because I think with that, if you have, I don't know if the Adobe Ink and Slide would work, but I know
really
Adonit makes a bunch of pressure-sensitive styluses.
That's cool.
And I think if you use one of those, I think that's supposed to work with it. So you'll be able to get those. You'll be able to get those nice varied lines.
Yeah. So that's a good option for someone that doesn't want to get a Companion or a Cintiq or whatever. But let me touch on something you just said a minute ago. I've been really thinking about upgrading my machine at home, right?
Getting the PC?
I hate PCs. I've been on a Mac for a long time.
You don't want to
And-
upgrade your machine at home.
Let's talk about that.
Conversation, please.
We've talked about this many times. But go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry.
I've done a bunch of research on Hackintoshes, and that seems like a really interesting way to go. So you get
Elaborate, interesting way to go, though, right? 'Cause that was crazy. Those things.
What do you mean?
Didn't the one you showed me was like very? He had this dude was just like had an amazing rig.
Yeah, but that was one guy. You can just buy a regular PC case. And anyway, let me start at the beginning. There's this website called like Tony Mac 86, I think it is.
This is awesome.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
That's basically what he's saying right now. Keep going. Keep talking about the PC you're building.
Okay, all I'm going to say is you can build a PC and run OS X on it, and you've got all the benefits of having a PC and upgrades and speed and cost savings and all that stuff, but you're not having to buy a... You know, because if you... Carlos, like you're talking about the trash can, the Mac Pro, that thing base is like $4,000, I think.
$4,000, yeah.
Right? And you know you can't be doing, like, especially me, like I can't be doing it.
PCs I have to draw to get that shit.
That's what I'm saying.
You can buy the same. You can have a system more for $1,200.
Right. So you
$1,300.
build up a Hackintosh if you're into the OS X thing. Build it up. You could deck it out, dual video cards, like all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm saying that's an option. It's gotten really popular, and I've talked with a couple studios in town that run them as their servers.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
You know what I mean? Like they can definitely be workstations.
Yeah, like why does that happen more? Like with all the amazing stuff that your industry does, the motion industry does. I know it's predominantly right, or does it depend on the? Or am I mistaken? It depends on the department. But isn't it mostly Macintosh still?
Yeah. Yeah, mostly.
So
A couple places are PC only because of cost savings and because of upgrades and all that other stuff. But most people are Macs. But now that all the old Mac Pros, like the big aluminum cases, those are all getting real long in the tooth. So now a lot of places have like one or two of the trash can Mac Pros, the newer ones, but they just can't commit to replacing every machine with one of those crazy expensive machines.
Yeah.
Plus, you got peripherals, and you have to have a breakout box separate from the machine to get all your fiber channel, like all your special peripheral stuff. So it gets like each machine is $10,000 in hardware. So those Hackintoshes are becoming more and more
so
popular.
wouldn't it just be better to just run on PC? I mean, all you guys, the same programs are on PC. Is it just more of a prestige?
It is, but it isn't. I don't. I did it back when they first released OS X for Intel, just for the hell of it. No reason other than that. And I'm sure it's changed a lot now, but I remember it being a real pain in the ass because Apple's biggest thing is they design their hardware to work specifically with their software and optimize it. So there's a lot of hardwares it doesn't support, and you're always fiddling around with trying to find the best configuration and what works and what doesn't. And I always found that like software installation upgrades was a little tricky. I was just doing it just to see what it was. I obviously gave up on it, but I don't know. Maybe that has changed, and maybe all that stuff is kind of becoming a lot more streamlined now that they've pretty much moved almost exclusively to Intel. But
yeah, it sounds like it's probably gotten simpler. It sounds like there is some of that stuff around still, but this website that I mentioned, they've got full-up builds, and if you want to build a top-of-the-line, middle, you want to do the equivalent of like, what are the small, the
budget?
The small, budget version, whatever.
So
you can pick from that what you want, and it'll tell you what you're going to need to do to get it up and running, and it doesn't sound that bad.
So what's the top of the line, Pat? Like, what did they say on the website? Is like you're a badass machine. Like, what was a good price? What's their pricing point now? What's the difference between buying a regular Mac?
The savings are. Yeah, the savings are insane. I mean, you could do the sort of a base model of the top of the line would be like 1700.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
And that's depending on the type of video cards I'm sharing at that point.
yeah,
They put in,
exactly.
'cause
You could
that's,
definitely go
it's
up a notch.
300
Yeah.
a piece or something like that, 400.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I always wonder why they're like missing out on the power that is the PC, and not to sound like a PC elitist, but just it's in terms of that part. That's the only thing I could never get my head around. Was like I like buying a new graphics card when the other one goes out, and like.
Yeah, but now you're just getting you're just getting into semantics. When you say PC and you're running OS X, you're running a Mac. I mean, that's the only
Not
thing
really.
that Mac. Yeah, no, you are. The only thing you're different is you're not using their pre-tested, pre-supplied hardware.
No, it's not the same thing.
It's not though.
Yeah, Mac hardware and PC. So Mac comes from a few suppliers. PC suppliers are
Sure.
from all over the place. So that's a big difference. The quality in the Mac with the hardware is probably better, but
It is better.
upgrading is an issue. So it's cheaper to do PC because you can upgrade, and it's more expensive with the Mac, and you can't upgrade. So it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But I do understand I kind of understand what you're saying, but like at the same time, like it's for what we do. I feel like some of those studios are like kind of shooting themselves in the foot based off more of a prestige thing, because
No, it has nothing to do with prestige. It has nothing to do with prestige. It's a lot of preference, and some of these applications run differently on Mac versus PC.
Okay.
They just run differently. You know what I mean?
There's a certain flow, like even just Photoshop, and mind you, I have a PC and I have a Mac. Running Photoshop is a lot smoother on a Mac. Not sure why. I can't explain it. It's just more fluid. Things just happen, and
You sure
blah,
that's not
blah,
a preference though, Carlos? Because if you had a
Dude,
top-of-the-line PC,
dude, I know, and I've tried to figure it out, and I can't really.
yeah, because I've heard this before.
All
Yeah.
I can say is there's just a flow to it that it just works. It makes sense to me.
And I've heard this for like video editing software. I heard that it's just that kind of stuff is like better on the Mac, based on some of the programs and stuff that's on there, or just how it handles lots and lots of video and stuff like that. And maybe Patrick can comment on this, but I always wondered, not trying to just pump up PC, but just in terms of if you have a top of the line system, and it's like best in its field or at the time, and it's not like not some ancient system, what would be the true benefit at that point? Especially if you can put a little bit better hardware into your system than this other system,
Yeah, I mean, at one point, you didn't have certain things available for a PC that you did on Mac, like Final Cut Pro or different codecs. That was true at one point. Things have gotten closer now than they were in the past. But again, it's a lot of times it's a preference thing. You know what I mean? Like you like domestic vehicles, you like German vehicles. It's like, well, the German's going to cost you a little more, but you like the way it drives better, right? Whatever. A lot of times it's just down to the person. And I'm on a Mac at home. I'm on a Mac at work. Like I like to keep everything all.
And I can see like the continuity of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
But even then, like Adobe has done a really good job where I'm going from Mac to PC and back again, and I don't see any hiccup. Well, I might see like a font issue.
Right.
Yeah, font issues. That's still there. I agree with you.
Yeah,
there.
But everything is moving to TrueType fonts, so everything reads TrueType fonts. But I think the reason why the Mac hardware costs a little more is because it is a little bit more expensive to build. They build it their way versus you have a machine. And I'm not trying to knock PCs because I push those just as much. It all depends on
yeah.
It all depends on who is doing what on what machine.
Yeah.
So, like the PCs might be built in a way where, it's kind of like Patrick said.
Mm-hmm.
A Mercedes and a Chevy can get you to work on time. But a Chevy is made to, let's say a Chevy Cobalt or whatever is made to be a more efficient thing. So you might have to change the tire a little more often. But my computers, like my computer, I'll buy a computer and it'll last me for 5 to 6 years. And then when I'm in the market for another computer, I'll take my current computer and I'll give it to another family member. I have so many computers scattered around the entire family, it's not even funny. And everyone calls me for the password to that computer because it was my computer at one point. So the Mac computers just last, and it's
Yeah, I mean, in the
Yeah,
research that
yeah.
I've done, they say that all the Mac hardware is considered workstation grade, whereas PC hardware, it could be a range of consumer, prosumer, whatever. But they say at least with Mac stuff, it's considered at a higher level, guaranteed. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I read.
I have a buddy that just said Macs last longer. I've had 2 Macs over the last 8 years and 4 PCs in about the same time. What's funny is he's a designer. He was working at a company who decided to jump on the cheap, and they got rid of. Well, they didn't upgrade their computers, their Macs with
Yeah.
another Mac. They upgraded them with PCs, and the designers quit.
Wow. Elitism.
Yeah, I mean, there's a place in town that I've worked that is only PCs, and the first time I worked there, I had to do a set of boards for that afternoon, and I hadn't been on a PC in like 10 years or something. So even just like as a freelancer, your key commands and your keyboard, even like all that little stuff that you
The Apple
take for
button you don't
granted.
have, yeah.
Well, you just take for granted because it's part of your workflow. You're not even thinking about it. It's second nature. It's like muscle memory and all that, and it's not there anymore. So it's just little stuff like that that, and you could put an Apple keyboard on a PC. You could remap stuff, whatever. But,
You know what's cool that Wacom is doing now? You know how you can have your shortcut
Wacom.
buttons doing different Wacom? That's what I said, no?
welcome.
He keeps repeating it every time you say it. Stupid.
Wacom lets you set up your shortcut keys and your radio menu to do certain functions and flip from here to there. You can actually save out your preferences now, save it on the cloud. They even Wacom actually will give you cloud space to you guys stop to save your preferences, and then that way if anything happens, say you go to work and you want to set up that Wacom in the same way you have it at home, you don't have to sit there and write everything down. You can just load it from the cloud.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what's funny about that for me is I shut every button down. I only need the usable work area. And that's me. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people use those things. I'm sure you and Tyrus especially use all the buttons and dials and shit. But
No, actually, I don't. I try to keep that stuff to a minimum.
oh, really? Yeah, that's funny.
He automates everything with those. What do they call it? Script.
I have to run my actions, man. I have
Actions.
actions set up. That's it.
Yeah.
I have my radio menu loaded with a bunch of actions. So I'll do might be doing coloring, and then I have one that'll actually I can have my wand and I'll select an area. It'll fill it and then deselect it, and then just moving on. You just go through, and coloring gets so fast when you're doing it.
That's
that
cool.
way. Are there any, besides Cinema 4D, are there any other 3D packages that go on the Mac?
Maya still does.
Yeah.
Blender.
3ds Max. Yeah.
3D Max on Mac?
Am I crazy? I think so.
No, I don't think.
No,
No,
Maya.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Maya. I'm thinking about Maya.
Maya's on the Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, sweet, I'm getting back in the game.
Oh yeah, that made me think about buying a Mac. You put 3D Studio Max on there.
Is Houdini's on
Houdini is on
OS
the Mac.
X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Nuke.
That one's becoming big. Oh yeah, Nuke is definitely on Mac. I mean, that's not a 3D package, but
It is now.
So I heard
Yeah, right.
I heard a rumor that Autodesk is thinking about scooping up Nuke, which would
That
still
would be a
Autodesk
disaster.
got everybody on their
that'd be
plan.
horrible.
The roadmap.
Right.
That
It's
would
not,
be
a big
awful.
about it. It's just a roadmap. We just got to figure out how to get there. They're gonna scoop up Moto and everybody else too. Watch.
Well, because Fusion was just scooped up by Sony, maybe.
Isn't
Or
that free though?
Fusion? No, that's paid. It's much less than Nuke, but no, it's paid.
Does Shake even still exist?
Oh, I haven't heard about Shake in a while.
Something else. What was that program that just got released? It was free. I don't remember.
Well, when you're trying to think of it, I was gonna try to make a segue into the movie Home. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, we talked about this last week.
Not
Yeah.
last week, like first episode.
No, Home. We talked about last week because it was coming out.
Oh, well, we
When it
talked
came
about
out-
it on the first episode too.
Has
No, that-
anyone seen it yet?
Yeah, that's true. I think
Actually, I saw it yesterday. I thought it was fantastic. I think it's probably in the top 3 DreamWorks movies of all time. If not, I could see it being ranked number 1.
yeah, because
What?
you know what DreamWorks what will be that's pretty good. That's I think
One of the
I haven't seen it yet. So I don't know.
I have Up. Up is definitely.
Up is Pixar.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about as far as 3D movies, not only
Oh,
with
in general.
DreamWorks. That's what I
Okay.
should say. Yeah, I think it's. I think
Top
it's up there.
3 3D
Yeah.
movies? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty good. I don't want to like overhype it, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, too late.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Isn't the aliens voices that Sheldon, right? From
it's Sheldon, and then you got Jennifer Lopez as the mother, and then Rihanna is the lead character's voice. Her name is Gratuity, and her middle name is
Gratuity?
Tip. Yeah, her name is Gratuity.
Tip.
No, it's not. Are you serious?
I swear, and I'm like, I go to my oldest daughter, my wife. I go, you guys. I'm talking to them
racist.
about it. I go, did you guys notice that when you saw it? And they go,
Oh,
no, we didn't.
Are you
And so I'm
serious?
like, yeah. So Gratuity and Tip, and so they were laughing over the phone when I was talking to them about it. I'm like, yeah, you guys missed that. So
Okay, so who's Tip?
that's her. That's her middle name.
Gratuity Tip. What?
Her name is Gratuity. Her nickname is Tip, and her last name is something else. Yeah.
Are you serious?
And so I think that's a play off of social names, like how
Like,
I
can we
don't
go
even want to get into all
Yeah,
of that.
'cause
But I was like, all right,
No,
I
let's
don't
get
know whether
into
to be. I don't know
let's get
whether to
into
be
it because there's this
offended.
girl in
naming your child Portia?
there's
Yeah.
this girl in Detroit.
yeah, that's wrong on a couple levels.
The judge
Yeah.
told her, "No, you can't name your baby that."
What was
And
the
I'm looking it up right now because I don't want to spread it because everyone.
I think
knows
it was in
Lamangelo
Florida.
and Orangelo.
I think it was in Florida. I'm not sure, but I think what happened in Florida. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a.
It's Gratuity? Really? I remember Tip, but I was thinking, okay, that's a kind
I
of a
swear
cute
to
nickname,
you,
but I didn't get
swear
it.
to you, her name is Gratuity.
What the? Ah,
That's funny.
man,
Maybe.
we
Nah,
get
it's
one.
not funny at all.
I knew I was-
It's so wrong.
We get
love
one
it.
character. It took
I
so
knew I
long.
wasn't lying. So check this out. Check this out. After Judge Cabrera, who is a federal judge, after Judge Cabrera's historic ruling, little Clitoria Jackson will likely undergo a name change.
Wow. Charlie can't handle.
So I can't imagine if.
Oh, where's that person's mama?
What do you say about that? Like what? Okay,
It's
let's have this
unfortunate.
conversation. Let's have this conversation. Like, what's the justification of naming a child something like Cavassier or I don't really understand that. So I don't get that. Naming your daughter Clitoria, like why would you do that?
Well, you know that means
I
their
mean,
mama.
better than naming your son Clitoria.
He is
True.
right.
It's
True.
true. But
I mean, not to one up you.
her mama.
So I think what
They
it
are amazing.
So I think what it is, the clitorian one makes no sense whatsoever. So we're not even going to go there. But let's talk about
it
the
makes
ones that
sense.
might make. Let's talk about the ones that might make a little bit of sense. So you have all this fancy stuff, the Porsches, the
Mercedes
Mercedes, all
Well,
that
that
stuff.
one's been around forever, but
Yeah,
doesn't make it right.
yeah.
It doesn't make it
and in
right.
Spanish it's Mercedes, so you can kind of get away with it.
No, you can't.
Yeah, yes, you can. It's completely different. But I think what it is you see all that fancy stuff and you're trying to reach that fancy stuff, and you think that you're setting your child up to motivate them to be that way.
No, you're setting her up for the pole.
No, but
that's
what Carlos is saying is right. I actually had a class on this, and one of the things we talked about is, let me put it to you like this: when you only have a little slice of the pie, you put whipped cream on top of it, you put cherries, you do everything to that little slice, and everybody else is like, why do you have that crazy slice of pie? When it's all you have, you pour everything into it. And so if a person is poor, they would tend to name their children after things that related to wealth or prosperity. If a person is very religious, they would pick religious names. And I'm okay. I mean, like, I can't really, I don't have a problem with that. But like when you say clitoria and stuff like that, or gratuity,
What
for
was
example.
the one we have one of my buddies, his wife is a baby doctor,
Mhm.
and she walked in and she had her thing.
Baby doctor, that's an official
baby
term.
doctor.
And she walked in
Doctor
and
for babies.
she was like, this baby's name was L.A. hyphen A. What would you guys think? La? You would think. You would think. But this baby's name was Ladasha.
What?
Yes.
The dash?
Yes.
Man.
Ladasha.
Yeah, I'm checking out of this conversation. You guys, please feel free.
We can go so.
Oh,
So anyway, talk about a tangent. So
I need to start a family.
No, the gratuity thing makes me kind of sad.
gratuity.
I completely agree with you, darling. I go, did they think that was funny? Is that like, so they did such a great job with the movie overall.
And I hate to do this, but what color was that the little girl in the movie?
Oh,
You know what color she was.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What color was she?
So, you know what's weird about decisions like this is they had to go up the chain. And I always think about this for something big like this. They had to go up the chain to so many people to agree
Right,
on
that's
this,
right. Yeah,
and
that's right.
how does that happen? And
You know what? Yeah.
What?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your statement.
Well, no, I mean that's
No,
basically.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Patrick. That's what bothered me. Or things like, and I don't want to ruin the movie, but I'll just say this for the fact of the conversation. She didn't have a father, and so it was a romanticized relationship with her mother, and I don't understand, like, why do people feel that that's? I get that there are kids who are born with single parents. I get that, but do we promote that? I would say we shouldn't.
Well, usually those movies, in terms of like the 3D movies, the Pixar movies, all promote family in such a different
so
way.
what I'm saying is, the one time you do a movie with a black character, you do the exact opposite. And so when you guys see the movie, you'll understand. If you pay attention to what I'm saying and you look for it, you'll understand. There was no residue of a father in the situation. And this was like the relationship they had, it was somehow more beautiful because it was a mom and a daughter only. And I'm just like, oh wow, they're trying to make this thing out to be so beautiful, and I understand to a certain extent, but at the same time, if what you do is make family movies, and then you go out of your way to make a single parent movie, okay, maybe, but it was just really uncomfortable. It was like, but it was still a great movie. So
Yeah.
I don't
Rotten
want to knock the
Tomatoes gave it
people who made-
47%.
It should have definitely been higher than 47%.
47%.
That's crazy. I don't even know how it would be below 75%. It was a fantastic movie. So,
Like they could have flipped it on its head and like instead of being gratuity, they could have named her something like Hope or Success or something else. Like that's
Yeah,
not
a very
so-
bizarre choice.
Hope.
Carlos, what does
I mean,
what do the viewers have it as? If you look at the popcorn next to it.
69.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
okay.
the critics are like, well, maybe the critics are slamming some of the things we're talking about though.
I don't know. I don't know if
Doubt
the
it,
critics.
right?
I don't know if the critics would get that. The stuff that was bothering me, I don't think that the average critic would even pick it up. Like the whole single mother relationship between the daughter. It was just really stereotypical. But at the same time, I'm glad that somebody took the time to make a minority-based
Yeah.
children's
Yeah.
movie. Like, great.
Yeah.
At least there's something out there
Yeah.
that if I'd say I'm going to pick my kids up and go to the movie and watch it with them, that it's something that they can relate to or have an idea of, and the character looks like them.
Sorry.
You just practicing over there? Practicing licking the
Yeah,
keys?
I
Because
went
we
to the
talked about
website
this.
for the
We
movie, and
Because we talked about this at our second part, our very first podcast, and we were all hoping that something comes up. We talked about, I think is this movie coming out, called Home or whatever, and like we were like so hopeful. So it's kind of funny we like here, months later, and it finally came out. But there's some.
Yeah.
One of my friends from Noman worked on it. His name is Eric Miller. He's a great 3D artist. Some great artists. I mean, it was a beautiful movie and great story. It was fun. It was a nice ride all the way through. It didn't have any dry spots that I can remember. So overall, I'm saying it was a great movie. But then socially, it's what I have the problem with, the little messages that were connected to the movie.
It's
I
nice to
definitely
see a
wanna do
different story, though. You know what I mean? I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, but it's nice that there are people out there. There are little girls out there that are
Who
from
get
a
to go
single
see a movie.
family,
Yeah.
a single parent home, right? And they see that and they can relate to that where they haven't had that movie to relate to before. So it's nice that there's a variety of stuff out there.
Yeah,
It's
but
cool.
the one time you make a black movie, that's what you do, the first time out?
Yeah.
So it's not the first time, because Disney did The Princess. I can't think of the name of The Princess and the Frog or something like that.
Yeah,
Disney did a movie of that, right? So okay, so it's the second
Yeah,
time
but
around.
she didn't have a dad either. I don't think.
She did not.
Now that I think about it.
Right,
I think
right,
It was set in Louisiana, right?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I think her dad
Yeah.
died. So that's not fair.
Oh, her dad died.
I think so.
Oh,
Well,
What happened in this one?
Well, so there's no mention. It's
took
as if
off.
that's what I'm saying. The way it was presented is as if this was as natural as it's supposed to be. That's the issue with it, because they would show pictures in the house and it was just her and her mom. So, if you wanted to say it was a close relationship between those two, you could have shown the father in the sailor outfit and we would say, oh, he died at war, or he left war. You could do a lot of things to still build this romantic relationship between them. When I say romantic, I mean like a very loving relationship, close friendship between the mother and the daughter.
family that had some type of tragedy, but they're still
Right.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's just an absentee of a father, as if it's the
Right.
natural order of things. That bothers me. Like, why is that
I get that.
in our movies? And then you tie that into the gratuity thing.
And then the mom just decided, you know what? Was their mom a waitress?
No, so they didn't say what the mom was, but they were her mom was from the island of Barbados, and then there was some things with that where, so you could, I would say you could clearly understand that the girl was black, but they left question marks, so you couldn't say that the girl was black just in case if you
But
didn't want to say that the
technically,
girl was
though,
black.
they could, because Rihanna's from the island of Barbados.
Right, but the girl had green eyes, so. And you say, okay, well, yeah, of course some black people have green eyes, of course. Like, that's not an issue. But then the mom appeared to be Hispanic. So you're like, well, what's happening there? And I'm not upset with that. I don't really care about that
Like
part.
maybe the dad was black or something.
Right.
Like a mixed,
Yes.
blended family. Yeah.
Right. And the guy was just absolutely missing. He was just an absentee.
But then again,
father,
now
I
you're
guess.
saying, black father, absentee missing. You do that.
Yeah. And this was set up. It was set up as a norm. It was set up like this is how things just are, and it's more bothersome when I talk about it than it was when I watched it, right? Because I can just kind of put
You're
that in.
enjoying the movie, but
But after you get out and you're talking about it, it's like, yeah, just like what Patrick said, this went up the chain, and someone else brought this up and said, hey, do you really think this is the way we should go about it? And someone said, yes, absolutely, go about it this way. That bothers me.
we'll be able to reach so many more people this way with her name. In that way.
Yeah.
It's not even close to a good name.
I know. The Tip part is funny. So you go gratuity, and her nickname is Tip. I get that.
But
That's funny, but then it's offensive at the same time.
The last name is Tucci, which
Right.
sounds like Italian, right?
Right.
Or,
That's
or,
right.
you
Yep.
know,
Gratuity Tucci.
yeah. A
Mama
They had,
little
mia.
weird.
with concepts and stuff like that, and like I know Jack probably making talk about this. Like they had to have a lot of different versions of this girl, and looks with names and everything. And I
Oh,
gotta,
yeah.
I gotta think over the years that they took to make this, like that name rose to the top. Because even the last name just sounds weird and like mismatched, you know.
Or is it a situation where someone walked in and says, I want to make a black movie.
A black movie.
I thought you were going. I thought there was more to that.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
People literally do that. Like,
Yeah, we've got this black demographic we need to fill. We need to get something out there for it. Yeah. Yeah,
Or
just like insensitive to it.
Did they do it as a publicity stunt that, oh, look, Disney came out with their first Latino princess. We need to come out with our first black kid.
Right. Could be.
Because the Sherman and Peabody movie wasn't cutting it. We just and nobody went to see that.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight could set the company. This could set, if it keeps doing good, could set the company back up to being.
Yeah, I think this movie's going to do well. I definitely think the movie's going to do well. But as a creative who happens to be a minority, and just having these concerns because I have children, it's disappointing, but at the same time, it's at least they gave it a try. So
right.
I'm not going to knock DreamWorks. At least they gave it the old college try, and overall, I think they probably hit 8 out of 10 bullseyes. So
I'm definitely gonna go see it. I wish my daughter was a little older to go see it, but I'm definitely gonna pick it up too once it goes on Blu-ray.
Well, I think your daughter's old enough. I think she's old enough to enjoy it.
You think she'd sit there and sit
yeah.
through it?
Yeah,
okay.
I think she would.
You might try it then. Definitely gonna start playing that more than Frozen.
Man,
I'm done with Frozen.
Bad for every parent. Every parent I know.
My daughter was young. My daughter doesn't really know, but like we got it, and they started playing it, and next thing you know, she's doing this while she's singing.
She learned that from her daddy.
Yeah.
Speaking of dancing, we're dancing around 2 hours now.
What?
Time flies when you're having fun, Patrick.
We're probably about an hour and a half, getting close to 2. Patrick, do you have any questions for any one of us on the panel? Burning desire to know.
Whoa, pause.
When should I expect the check? When am I getting paid for this?
That's why we have Jack on the show.
When you get one, let us know.
Check. Jack will send you an exotic fish from his fish tank.
There you go. There's your check.
Boom. All right.
Thank you, Jack. Way to end the night.
Good timing on that.
Check mark for all of.
Oh yeah, thanks.
You see it? He got the check mark.
Well.
So Patrick, if people are looking for you and your work, where can they find you?
Oh yeah. I set up a cargo collective in about how long? You messaged me about this earlier, and it took me about 3 minutes to put together Cargo Collective. So it's just a link to my Vimeo. So you can find me at cargocollective.com/Patrick Edge, which is the same username as my Twitter and my Instagram, Patrick Edge. Or you can just search for me, Patrick Coleman, on Vimeo. And I basically just have a reel out there right now. A bunch of my boards and style frames I can't show, but as things come out, I might be able to open some of that stuff up. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Check me out. Yep.
Charlie, any final thoughts?
Thanks for Patrick for coming on. Tyrus, you kind of behaved this evening. Give it to you.
2 alpha males. You know what I mean? We had to connect like that. Keep you guys in check.
Nice. I like how you just bombard my time on the show. Thanks, Patrick. Stop talking.
Like I said.
2 alphabets. No, but if you can find me on Twitter at CBW3 or cargocollective.com/CharlieBWilliams. Yeah, I had a great time.
Jaquan, Kasperzak.
You are the
Is that
problem.
my, is that
Long
my
lost
home?
Wu-Tang member.
Is that my DreamWorks home character name? Uh,
We need a we need a DreamWorks home generator, name generator. Call myself Equity.
Sketchbookjack.com or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SketchbookJack.
And Mr. Terrace, any final thoughts?
None. Zero. Goodbye. Goodbye, world.
Wow, that's a first.
Cut it down, man. What's up?
Wow.
This cold is getting the best of me.
No, for real. What's it? At Tigo Sketch.
Oh,
is
yes.
his,
You can find me on Instagram
Twitter.
at Tigo Sketch. You can find me on Facebook at Tigo Sketch. And you can find me hanging out with your mom.
At Tigo Sketch.
I'll let her know.
And you, Carlos?
And my name is Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com, or you can visit my characters at robotsandaliens.com. You can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else at Coconut Justice. And remember to go and submit your work to sketch.zone, and you too could be a part of this fantastical world of whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Hey, who you got on next week?
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, we'll do something. Let me finish this. You can find Sketch Zone, the podcast, on YouTube. Make sure that you like all these videos, and make sure that you what is it? Not request.
Troll
Come on,
us.
spit it out, Carlos.
Subscribe.
Not
Oh,
request.
man.
Subscribe.
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 Make sure to
It's
subscribe on YouTube.
Share.
You can also find us on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes, and
The new one?
we are on Stitcher, my friends. So you can find us on
Yeah.
Stitcher.com. What was your question now?
Me?
He said who was next week?
Yeah, what's up next week?
Next week we have, man, I'll let you know. It's
Walt Disney.
yeah.
Let's try this again.
We have Josh Crockett.
Oh,
Josh.
Yep, Josh Crockett. He's
Not as
isn't
good
he
as John.
the monster head maker guy?
He's a creature artist.
Creature artist.
He'll be great to have on.
It's gonna be
He's
awesome.
gonna be fun. He seems like a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it for us, guys. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Later. Thanks for having me.